In this episode of Big Dreams, we meet Lucy Licata, the district ESL coach.
What is your role in the Red Bank Borough Public Schools?
I am the ESL instructional coach for grades K through 8, which means I work both with the primary school and the middle school.
Tell us about your educational background.
For undergrad, I studied at the College of New Jersey, so I have my degree in elementary and early childhood with a major in English. Then I returned for my master's to Rider University, where I obtained my ESL certification and my bilingual, bicultural certification as well, in addition to my supervisor certification by majoring in teacher leadership. Currently, I'm enrolled at Rutgers University pursuing my reading specialist certification and my EDD in teacher leadership.
Tell us about your progress in your doctoral program.
I am currently all but the dissertation, and so this year I'm working on my dissertation. Hopefully will be completed by the end of the summer.
What does an ESL coach do in the classroom?
So I work a lot with teachers, providing them individual support or support within their professional learning communities to meet the needs of their English language learners, but additionally any learner in their classroom. One of the areas that I work with them the most on is getting students to achieve academic vocabulary. A lot of students come to school with basic interpersonal skills language, and really bridging that gap between social language and academic language, and how we can make learning vocabulary fun. So a lot of the things we focus on are teaching teachers strategies and interactions and vocabulary activities that they can engage students in their classrooms with to make learning vocabulary fun. All right. Good afternoon, boys and girls.
Good afternoon.
Oh, how are you guys today?
Good.
So I know that you have been learning a lot about baths, right?
Yeah.
And you've been learning so many new vocabulary words, and some really super tricky ones too, that Miss Domina and Miss Hochstein have been working with you on. And so today I'm here to do a little fun activity with you to help you remember these words a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to show you something I worked on. Your first clue is a picture I drew. By looking at that picture and thinking about the topics you've been learning about and the words you've been learning about, does anybody know what word I might be trying to show? Nocturnal, maybe. Do you think that's a good clue? Let's see. Now let's check how I defined it in my own words. Do you want to read this with me? Being active and awake at night. Let's check the picture and let's think about the definition. Do we still think it might be nocturnal?
Yeah.
Yeah? Let's see. Now I use the word in a sentence, so this is a really big clue because the word is going to be in the sentence. Ready?
Nocturnal animals and birds are active at night.
2 thumbs up if you think my word is nocturnal.
Can you tell us how SIOP supports students in the classroom?
So SIOP is a research-based model, and it stands for Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. And in a nutshell, right, it's incorporating, focusing not only on content learning objectives, but also on language objectives, and exposing students to the language of the content that they are learning. It's super important for students to learn content in school, but it's also equally as important for students to be able to talk about the content that they learn in school and use the vocabulary that is specific to the different content that they learn. One of the major focuses we have in SIOP training is really getting teachers to understand the difference between BICS and CALPS, right? So basic interpersonal communication skills versus content, academic language proficiency. And that's a big gap we try to bridge for students, getting them from that basic language to that content language.
Can you comment on how receptive versus expressive language affects student engagement?
So a lot of our students have higher receptive language than expressive language. And that could be due to very teacher-directed classrooms. And so what SIOP strategies lend themselves to are more student-directed classrooms by engaging students in different strategies and interactions where they are contributing orally, expressively, within the classroom and not only receiving the language from the teacher's instruction.
How do our students move through the ESL continuum?
So at the Red Bank Primary and Middle School, we see students with various English language proficiency levels, really large spans from our newcomers that come to us with no English language to our monolingual students that grew up speaking, listening, reading, writing English. And so it could look the different levels of their English proficiency looks very different depending on the student. So they move from picking up single words in the second language, receptively being able to comprehend utterances and one words, to gradually being able to use the language and begin to form sentences and phrases. And most of that occurs with their social language. It's not until later on that they really start to develop their academic language. So it could take anywhere from 7 to 10 years for students to acquire the appropriate academic language in their second language.
How does our data demonstrate student growth?
So based on the data, we can notice that our students are achieving higher than in the past on our state tests, and that's super exciting. Aside from figures and numbers, you step into any of our classrooms and you can see from K to 8 just the growth in language and engagement that's occurring within those classrooms that I think also speaks for itself.
So if that's in winter, I just gotta give them a little cold.
In the definition, right? So that you know what it is.
Like vaccine sleep, sleep. And do this every one season. And it is cold and nice.
You gave me how many clues in that?
2.
Almost, yeah, you gave me 3 clues. That makes a really good definition, right? Because you really helped your reader understand it. Did writing this in your own words help you remember the word a little bit better? Yeah, right? So doing activities like this helps us remember the word and it helps us share the word with somebody, right? Awesome job.
Can you tell us about academic articulation in our district?
Honestly, that's one of my favorite things about this position is I really get to work with the teachers and the students in pre-K through 8th grade at different points within the year. And it's really exciting to see the growth that our students experience from kindergarten throughout their years here with us in Red Bank. And it's also really exciting to see the students at different levels entering our program and the growth that they're experiencing within smaller amounts of time.
Tell us about the new pre-K ESL program.
This year was the first year that we implemented having an ESL teacher at a pre-K site, and that is very exciting. So I've had the opportunity to work very closely with our pre-K ESL teacher in developing a scope and sequence for language instruction at the pre-K level. And she currently works with some of our 4-year-olds.
Would you talk a little about your dissertation study?
My dissertation topic is vertical PLCs to improve vocabulary instruction. And therefore, I selected the ESL teachers from the primary school to participate in these vertical PLC sessions with the intention of helping teachers develop a greater understanding of the progression of learning across the grade levels. And additionally, improving the vocabulary instruction that is occurring in the primary grades.
How do instructional coaches help our district?
Well, one of the areas that I think is a huge advantage to having any type of instructional coach like myself is the ability to work with teachers from K to 8 on understanding that progression of learning, right? And that goes beyond what I discussed with my dissertation being focused on vocabulary. That goes for all the subject areas. Understanding where our students are coming from when they step into our classrooms and where our students are expected to go once they leave our classrooms and progress to the next grade level. It's seeing that bigger picture and not the isolation within each grade level.
What is your favorite thing about working in the Red Bank Borough Public Schools?
So there are a couple of things that I really love about working in Red Bank. One of them definitely has to be our population and our families. I think that we are very fortunate to work with such a supportive community. But for my own professional growth, one of my favorite things about Red Bank has to be the leadership and the way that they have really implemented a version of distributive leadership by really promoting teacher leadership within their teachers at the different schools. And so I can speak directly from experience when it comes to stepping up and taking a teacher leadership role. In the past 6 years that I was in kindergarten, throughout those years I had the opportunity to co-write the curriculum that is currently being used in kindergarten with my colleague, and that was a tremendously rewarding experience. We were able to identify the needs of our students. We were able to evaluate what we were using in the past and create something that was specific to our students and to our population. And just being given that autonomy to do that from your leadership was extremely empowering.
As a coach, you get to see all of the grade levels. Can you tell us about the teachers?
We have amazing staff members, and in this position more than ever, I'm able to really see the amazing staff members that we have from K to 8 and the instruction that's occurring within those settings.
We would like to thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate any opportunity that I get to speak about the work that we're doing here in Red Bank.